to a few others that are nervous about their performance. Are you worried at all?
I know I'm going to suck, so I'm not really nervous. Because I'm like, well, what can you do to a guy that's not going to be able to hit the ball or field the ball anyway? I can't be nervous about performing because I got nothing to do. I don't have any hopes. So yeah, I'm good.
Have you found have you found out what position you're playing?
Outfield.
Outfield. Okay. All right.
I wanted to play. All my friends asked me what I wanted to play, and I told them I want to play left out.
I was talking to Bernie Williams. He said his goal is to not make the not top 10. Would you be excited to make that if some kind of blunder, or would you be ashamed almost?
Spell my name right. That's all you got to do. It's one R.
I think people will spell your name right for what it's worth. Obviously, you're Cleveland through and through. You talked, and I was hearing you talk about the development of downtown and how exciting that is.
Yeah, it's great.
When you see that, how awesome is it to see what Cleveland has and continues to form into and morph into?
No, it's like about time. People started moving back downtown and having some grocery stores.
Yeah.
I'm like, finally.
Yeah, I live downtown, so
Yeah, so I'm walking around downtown. I'm like, okay, great. Finally, people are getting the news. Yeah.
It's a cool place. Is there a go-to spot or two that you have?
No, because I don't drink anymore. So like, there's no bar like want to go to
Or restaurant or.
No. Just come home, like wherever. I'm just eating at the hotel restaurant while I'm here. Yeah, whatever's convenient.
I have to ask you, last question. If they're of the people that come up to you about your shows, which show do they mention the most?
Whose Line?
Is it Whose Line?
Absolutely, okay. Yeah. Always. I knew it was going to be that too.
Did you?
Even though I made most of my money on the Drew Carey show, I was doing Drew Carey show and Whose Line at the same time, and I would talk to Ryan about it all the time. I go, this is Whose Line is the show everybody's going to remember us for. Like, we're going to make our money on the Drew Carey show, but like years from now, people are going to come up to us and talk about Whose Line because it was just so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. How did that come about? Whose Line? Well, like what? And you've probably answered this a dozen times, but how did it launch? How did you get that idea?
It was already a show in England that Ryan would do. He would fly over to England and do it, and it was always already a big hit in England, and it was a showing over here in America. You could get I don't know, it was syndicated or it was on BBC America or something like that. And I remember I was reading an article about I'm trying to make this concise, but I don't know if I can. I was reading an article about summer shows and stuff back when they had like summer shows, and ABC, like nothing was good on in the summer. And I thought, oh, if Ryan and I brought an American version of Whose Line here, that would be a great summer show for ABC. And I told Ryan about it. I go, hey, do you think Whose Line would be a good idea? And he goes, yeah, Dan Patterson is in town trying to pitch it right now as a show. And he was trying to pitch it to different studios and have it as an American show, and he wasn't having any luck. So he came to see us do improv at the Improv in LA, because we were doing improv there every Thursday night. The cast of the Drew Carey show was, yeah. And so he came and he saw us do improv, and I talked to Dan, and he goes, yeah, this is a good idea. You could be the host. You could do a hoedown at the end of the show. And we pretty much worked it out at the bar. And then we pitched it to ABC, and they came to see us do improv at the Improv. And we gave them DVDs of the show. And like a few weeks later, they bought it. I mean, it was pretty straightforward.
Just that. That's how.
It was pretty easy.
When you say Ryan who?
Styles.
Styles?
Yes.
Last question from me, at least. Baker Mayfield, the Browns, they've made a ton of offseason moves. I think Cleveland's as excited as they've ever been about the Browns in a long time.
Yes.
Describe your feeling going into it.
Well, it'll be great to have, like, every team in the mix. You know what I mean? Like, people... I own part of a soccer team in Seattle, the Seattle Sounders. I'm a minority owner, and that's a big team in Seattle, and we get like 40. We average like 43,000 a game or something at CenturyLink, and
MLS.
Yeah, and we're always in the playoffs and always doing well, and it means a lot to people to support a local team, and it represents the city, and you almost feel like if your team doesn't do well, then your city's no good, which is a bad way to think, if you ask me, and you shouldn't think like that because there's so many other good things in the city besides the sports teams. Sure. Like, you shouldn't wrap up everything in just the Browns or just the Cavs or just a play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's a mistake. When there's a city like Cleveland that has so many things going on that are great, why wrap it up into one thing like that, or one team or one player? That said, it's very exciting when you can have something like that because it brings the city together, gives you something to talk about on Mondays when you go to work. you know. So yeah, it's all good. It's better than. I remember I used to work at a vending machine. I had a terrible job, and I'm sorry. I apologize to the people I worked with because I walked out on the job. It's the only job I just quit, and I left this poor guy, friend of my brother's, in the lurch. It was a factory, and I was filling vending machines. And on Monday, if the Browns had lost, everybody would be complaining and just like in a bad mood. And if they won, they'd be in a good mood, buying coffee for each other. And yeah, so I hope a lot of people get coffee bought for each other this year.
When did you leave?